Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 372 XP chainsaw. The customer complaint is that it's low on power. Now we're going to find at least one problem with this saw, but along the way we're going to talk about all the potential reasons why your chainsaw might be low on power. So the first thing I'd like to do is look into the fuel tank. I'm looking for clean, fresh fuel that doesn't stink or look like pond water. I want to see evidence of oil in the fuel. I don't want to see any water in the bottom of the tank. I'll then fish the filter out of there and take a look at it. And in this case, it's disgusting. That filter certainly could be the reason that this saw is low on power. It might run good when it's not under load, but under heavy load, I'm sure it's probably straining to get enough fuel. So I'm going to pressure test the fuel line, and I'm checking for holes in the line and leaks in the carburetor. If I put 10 pounds of pressure on here and it holds, then I'm happy that the fuel line doesn't have holes and that the needle in the carburetor is seating. We'll put a new fuel filter on here and then move forward. So that filter that we saw sitting there on the bench, that's pretty bad. Don't let your filter get that far gone. I think that most Husqvarna owner's manuals for a pro say monthly or 100 hours. And I know there's people that try to remember to do it once a year, right? So stay on top of the fuel filters. If you have an auto-tune chainsaw, make sure you use the Husqvarna blue capped fuel filter. For the traditional carbureted saws, you can use the one with the orange cap. The next thing I'm going to do is look under the hood, and we'll take a look at the spark plug. This one looks like it's pretty new. He probably tried replacing the plug in an effort to fix his low on power condition. If it was carboned up, that could be a contributing factor. I'm also looking into the cylinder to see if it's scored or not. Obviously, a scored engine is going to be low on power. If the rings aren't seating properly, you're going to have low compression and low power. The inside of this one looked clean and shiny. We got stuff hitting the ground. So let's see what this runs like. So it seemed like it ran okay, but we're not running it under load. I took it outside and I put it in a log, and it bogged terribly in the cut. Now the fuel filter, while it was bad, obviously wasn't the only reason why this was low on power. And we're going to find another reason why here in a little bit. This is actually the next day. I did that test cut at the end of the previous day. And we're coming back to this saw now to work on it. So what about the air filter? Could that be a reason why we're low on power? It certainly can be, but in this case, it's not. I don't go into much detail here showing you how dirty it isn't, but it's not the reason why this thing isn't running properly. But make sure you check your air filter if you have a low on power condition, especially if you have an auto-tune chainsaw, because there really isn't a lot you can do except change the filters on those. If there's a software update or an error code stored in it, that's all dealer level kind of work. All right, we kind of blew the schmutz out of here, and I'm going to take the carburetor off. I want to look inside of it. On a 372, to get the carburetor off, we're going to remove the fuel line. We already have the impulse line off of there. Plugging up the fuel line because I still have fuel in the tank. The screws that run through the air filter base on this model are a 3mm hex. You go through the air filter base, through the carburetor, and into the intake boot adapter. So we just got these two long screws. And then the blue choke lever, that's just pressed into the linkage on the carburetor. Once we pop it out of there, we can kind of roll it out of the grommet in the end of the chassis. Then there's a dust boot on one side and the throttle cable. If we open the throttle and hold it open, it creates enough slack in the cable to pull the ferrule out of the catch on the carburetor linkage. And that's pretty much it. We've harvested a carburetor. So we want to look around here a little bit and make sure the boot looks good. We're not going to pressure test this saw. At least not yet. If we find evidence inside the carburetor of a problem, we certainly won't bother pressure testing the saw. It's not to say that it wouldn't be good practice to do that, but it adds a lot of extra time to a repair that the customer might not need to pay for. So this side of the carburetor is the metering diaphragm. 4 screws hold this plate on here and it exposes our diaphragm. If this is stiff, that can certainly create a situation where maybe the saw is not getting enough fuel, or maybe it's getting way too much fuel. The stiff diaphragm would hold the metering lever open or never open it, one of the two, and create problems. In this case, it looks pretty good. So metering diaphragm wasn't the case, but it could be on your saw. On this side of the carburetor is the fuel pump. So we have the pump membrane here. And then we have a micro screen. This is the last filter before we get into the passageways of the carburetor. Now, what I wanted to do here was I was going to pop this screen out and put it on this paper towel and shine a light behind it and show you how dirty it was. It looks about like this one in the picture I popped up. My plan, though, to put a light behind it, it failed. It didn't work at all. Here's another sample with some kind of chalky residue in it. And then another potential blockage would be wood shavings like this picture. That could happen if there's a hole in the fuel line or if the filter fell off the fuel hose. So those are all blockages. And this screen had a blockage, and that definitely would contribute to low on power because the engine's not getting the fuel that it needs. The screen is blocking the flow of fuel. So we've got the carb opened up. We're going to put a whole kit in here. The first piece that's going in is a fresh micro screen. And some manufacturers will call this a strainer. All right, what do we got? We're going to have to find a fuel pump membrane. These brown Teflon ones are the most durable. And I believe they move the most fuel also. We're also going to need a gasket. Now, a lot of times some of the gasket will stick to that pump cover and you'll have to scrape it off like this. This one isn't bad, just a couple little spots. But there'll be other times when half of the gasket will stick. You want to make sure you get that all cleaned off there. If it's not sitting flat and flush on top of the carburetor, then you're going to have other problems. You're going to have fuel leaks. The pump won't work properly. Things like that. So there's our new gasket. And there's our new fuel pump membrane. And you can stack them on top of the carburetor and then put the cover on, or you can do it this way. It just doesn't matter. And then we'll get the 4 screws in here and bolt it down. Look at them go. Alright, on this side we have a metering chamber. You can think of it as a float bowl on a filthy, disgusting 4-stroke. This is our metering lever we're removing. There's a spring underneath it, and that metering lever holds the needle. So if we remove the cross shafts from underneath the screw, we can pull out the metering lever. Where's our new needle? It either didn't come in the kit or I already lost it. I'm not sure which one. Luckily, I don't really need a new needle. This one looks fine, and it was only getting replaced because there should have been one in the kit. The parts I really wanted to replace were the fuel pump membrane and the metering diaphragm. So that needle looks good. We're going to put it back in. I could go grab a different kit and get a fresh needle, but it's not needed. So I'm going to hang the needle on the metering lever, and then them knuckle draggers are making a lot of noise over there, aren't they? Yikes. So I kind of lost track where I was. It looks like we got the metering lever and the needle installed. Then I want to make sure that the metering diaphragm I'm putting in matches the one I took out. And a lot of times that means checking the height of that center pin on that metal piece of the diaphragm. Make sure it's the same height as the one you removed. Also, I think I was talking, and we need to check the metering lever height. And we're past that point, but if you don't know how to check the metering lever height, watch almost any one of my other videos. I'm always rebuilding carburetors. Them dang knuckle draggers got me distracted. Alright, well, we got our carburetor put back together. The point was that a stiff metering diaphragm or a plugged microscreen could also contribute to a loss of power. And in fact, oftentimes, those two things are the biggest reasons I see a loss of power. So on a 372, you got to be careful because this intake boot has a divider in it. And that divider has some notches it has to fit into on the carburetor. And you'll often see an air leak formed when that is not put together the right way, and that divider is kind of folded under and not in the notches. I'm not going to go into detail about that. I just want to point out on this particular model that's something you have to watch for. And if you have it in your hands and you're working on it, it's pretty obvious when you know it's something you have to look for. So we've got the carb kind of lined up here. See, I'm kind of making sure that divider is lined up the way it should be and inspecting it. And I don't want to put this together wrong. And in fact, Husky had some problems for a while, and they might still once in a while have a problem where these aren't put together right at the factory. I know some dealers, when they sell a new 372, they'll inspect this before they send it out with the customer. I think Donnie Walker or Walker's Saw Shop is one example. They like to make sure that they're keeping track of what the factory's doing, right? It's better than someone bringing back a saw that's scored. All right, I'm happy. Knuckle draggers. I'm happy with the way the carburetor looks, and we're going to bolt it back into place. So, what other reasons might there be for a low on power condition? You know, maybe it's clutch slippage. You do have to interpret the customer's complaint. So when they say low on power, what does that mean? Maybe the chain is stopping. You know, if you have a bent bar or a bar that's got an S in it because it was bent and someone tried to straighten it, that puts a huge drag on that chain, and you can have a low on power condition because of that. Also, if they put the wrong chain on there, that could be a problem. And, you know, the nose sprocket or the drive sprocket are binding. Other reasons might be a misadjusted carburetor. Now, we're going through a cold snap right now, and when you have cold air, you need more fuel, and a carb that's adjusted for summer temps is going to be low on power in the wintertime. Then, of course, you have the other reasons. We talked about a scored cylinder, but you could have binding engine bearings, things of that nature. I think I covered most of it. If you can think of something else that I might have missed, that would be a reason for a low on power condition. Just let me know down in the comments. All right, it looks like we got it all together. I think the only thing left to do is just fire it up and make sure it's going to run. So that's all I have for you on Husqvarna 372 XP chainsaw that was low on power. Thanks for watching. Later.